adventure, and leadership. Today is a special day. I want to introduce you to a special brand of law enforcement that got its start in the early 1900s. That's the Arizona Rangers. They were an elite team and some of the highest trained lawmen of the day, equipped with the finest horses and the best weapons. They were called in to rid the West of outlaws, bandits, and gangs of bad guys who made travel extremely dangerous for those crossing the Arizona territory. Many of the original Arizona Rangers had fought alongside Theodore Roosevelt as members of his famous Rough Riders. That was the first U.S. volunteer cavalry. Well, the Arizona Rangers were highly skilled at what they did, said to be excellent horsemen, impressive trackers, talented marksmen, knowledgeable frontiersmen. They knew the countryside well, and they were feared by criminals and respected by all. Well, today, their legacy lives on. Please meet Master Sergeant Donna Ibarra in the studio with me, a modern-day Arizona Ranger. Welcome to Zonie Living.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here.
So I wanted to talk about your history. So the Arizona Rangers were around in the early 1900s, but your family was around. You had relatives who were here at that time as well.
That is correct.
Would you tell us about that a little bit?
So I have a great-grandfather that was actually John D. Lee, who was started Lee's Ferry at the Grand Canyon.
Of course.
And so he was establishing a trade between the Navajos and the pioneers to make sure everybody had goods that they needed at the time. And it is very amazing that, the Arizona Rangers were around during that time.
And I'm guessing that your family knew the Arizona landscape as well as the Arizona Rangers, so there's probably some crisscross going on.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, yes.
And you were actually born in Keams Canyon.
No, my dad was born in Keams Canyon.
Oh, your dad was born in Keams Canyon.
Yeah, my dad was, his parents were traders in Keams Canyon for 30 years. And so that's where my dad was raised. And so my dad speaks fluent Navajo. My uncle speaks fluent Hopi.
Wow.
And so when he was old enough, he ended up getting his own trading post, Mancos Creek Trading Post, and that's where I was born. And so my dad remembers the time growing up on a trading post, and he did not want that for his children. So he moved us to Winslow when I was a year old.
To Winslow. So you are a fifth-generation Arizonan.
Yes, that is correct.
That is so rare and so amazing. So you must have some of that interest in being part of public service, part of the Arizona legacy in your blood.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And that can date back all the way to, I'm related to two signers on the Declaration of Independence. My grandfather was the first sheriff of Ganado, and then I'm serving as an Arizona Ranger. My older daughter serves in Washington, D.C., serving the ones that are less fortunate. So,
well, I wanted to talk about your uniform, too. Now, from what I understand, the Arizona Rangers keep the tradition of wearing the cowboy boots and also the cowboy hat, which is fascinating and so classic for Arizona.
Yes, it definitely is the cowboy hat especially.
And you're also, part of your uniform is a belt.
Yeah, a duty belt. Yeah, we do carry a duty belt just like police officers do.
So what's on that duty belt?
So we have our sidearm, we have our handcuffs, we have a baton, we have our extra magazines, we have a flashlight, and then some carry a first aid kit and a tourniquet.
So I know there are several groups of Arizona Rangers in Arizona, so please tell us about the different groups, how many of you there are out there, and what kind of duties you're assigned.
Okay, so the state is divided into 4 different sections, and those sections are our commanding areas, and each section then has their own companies within that section, that commanding area. So we are actually in the northern area, which has 5 companies, and High Country is one of those companies. And so our duties that within our company, there's 12 of us. So one, including a probation ranger, and we also have an associate ranger, so included in the 12. And so what we do is we go and we help the law enforcement with their DUI task force. We also help with, I know in Winslow, Lieutenant Chesterman was there with us when we helped out with the summer reading program. Winslow puts on a really big summer reading program for the community. And so there were some of us that were there to help assist in that aspect. We also help out, not only be in parades, but we also help out do traffic control and crowd control in parades.
So we've likely seen you around. If we've been to parades or festivals or other fun events, we've probably seen you guys working.
Definitely.
And we probably didn't realize what special breed you were of law enforcement. And some of you are actually mounted. You have mounted units as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. There are no mounted units in northern Arizona. They're trying to get them here. Yeah, there are some mounted units, and they like to use them. And like, for example, we also do the standing on the corner event that happens in Winslow. It's been happening for years.
We all know that because of the Eagles. So,
Yes.
So yes, we all know about standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona.
Yeah. So they would like to use the mounted units there to help, patrol the area, the darker areas that law enforcement or us can't really, those on the ground can't get to, and parade and rodeos. They like to use them at rodeos as well.
Well, like they've done 100 years ago, I want to right now call in more Rangers and get more support. So we'll put on our headphones so we can actually hear you. We've got Lieutenant Tom Chesterman standing by, connecting with us from Flagstaff. Hello, Lieutenant Chesterman.
Good afternoon. How are you?
It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
No, my pleasure.
Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit about the background of the Arizona Rangers. I read somewhere that many Rangers have a military background or something in law enforcement. And then I also understand that some of the younger members are part of the Arizona Rangers as a stepping stone into a law enforcement career. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what your background is. And I understand before we get to that, this is a volunteer position. So I want everybody to know that this is all given from your heart and, sometimes dangerous. So Lieutenant Chesterman, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us about your background.
Sure. Well, I've had since childhood, in fact, my whole family has a very strong sense of service. And I think that's what really sets us apart as an organization it is service to our community, service to society. So everywhere I've lived, moving around for a lot of professional reasons, I've sought and participated in service or charitable activities, scouting, search and rescue, sheriff's reserve. In addition, my family and I have a lot of professional connections and experiences with law enforcement. So when I moved to Arizona, and when I learned of the history and the mission of the Arizona Rangers, I really couldn't think of a better organization in which to serve. It really checks all the boxes. It provides law enforcement support. It provides support to the community. And in fact, we also have a commitment to supporting youth organizations as we can. So a lot of that is, all comes together in the Arizona Rangers, besides the fact that it's just a great group of people, all united with this sense of service. But as you mentioned, some come from law enforcement, some come from military, some come from both, some come from other emergency services. And it is considered to be a good stepping stone for getting into law enforcement, learning a little bit about it as the younger members do, probationary rangers. But I would say most of us are a little more senior in our careers and have the time and resources to give back to the community.
Well, that is such a noble profession, a volunteer role that you all play. I wanted to ask you how long you've been part of the Arizona Rangers.
So I've been in the Rangers now, 6 years. I joined right after I came into the state from Alaska, and it's been a great 6 years.
Fantastic. And Master Sergeant Ibarra, I wanted to ask you the same question. How long have you been part of the team?
3 years.
3 years. That's so great. It's wonderful that you're out there for festivals and events and parades and all sort of community events that everybody feels good about and is having a good time. But we need to emphasize that maybe now more than ever, there's danger involved with this job as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about the dangers of the role of this job?
Well, yes. We are obviously there to be first responders in the broadest sense. But with respect to the hazard, we are expected to go run towards the gunshots, if you will, or present ourselves to the hazards. But really, with respect to that, I have to say that most of the potentially dangerous circumstances are for us de-escalated by our presence, by our confidence that we get from our training, and by just moving in and providing a diffusing of the situation. But as you point out, in this day and age, the other possibilities stay in our minds and in our preparations. Active shooters, terrorist activities, all of these are occurring to other communities around the nation. But so we need to be very, very prepared in case they threaten us here in our community, because that is our role. We are here to protect the community, and we will confront those with our training and our attitude, and hopefully keep the community safe.
So when you put on that uniform in the morning, you're thinking in a mindset, this is going to be a good event, but I'm always going to be situationally aware. Is that correct?
That is correct. And there's, in the whole environment, having the star right here makes you somewhat of a target. There are a lot of people that will confront that. We also, I will say, we do include, when we're putting on a uniform, we usually put on a bulletproof vest too, because that can happen.
Yes, good for you. Yeah, excellent. That's good to know. The Rangers always seem to bring a certain calm and confidence to any event. And I know from my experience where I met you was at the Flagstaff Star Party. And, when you see somebody in uniform, you're not always expecting that person will be approachable. But you guys are the most welcoming bunch of people. And right away, we felt so excited to be there. You set the tone for the event that was about to happen. But I know that's probably not always the case in some of the roles that you play. And I think it's important to mention, Lieutenant, you are the firearms instructor, from what I understand.
That is correct. I'm a range master, I guess is another way of putting it, but in charge of the training.
The range master, what does that mean? How do you all stay in shape?
So, firearms are an important tool for our mission, obviously, although we, like most law enforcement personnel, hope we never have to deploy them. But we might. So we have an obligation to proficiency in their use and tactics.
And we're looking at a picture that I believe is you on the screen. Is that correct?
That is. And I'm right there. This is a part of our training program, which we do every month, is to set up some scenarios. And in this particular one, we're working with carbines and working on entry strategies, moving into a building, moving around windows, around walls. So we try to get as realistic training as we can. We start from the fact that every ranger is held to the same qualification standard as any law enforcement officer in the state of Arizona. You have to pass what's called the AZ post test. And we qualify annually in daytime handgun. Also, we have nighttime handgun, patrol carbine, tactical shotgun. So we put all of these together, including non-lethal tools like collapsible baton or OC spray. So all of these tools are available to us, but we have a requirement to keep training with them. And so every month we get together and we have a training program where we work with these tools, all of our perishable skills, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
For example, last month we had a session working with collapsible baton and also a firearm, a handgun scenario with a charging perpetrator, if you want to call it.
Okay.
Tomorrow we actually have another training program. Tomorrow's training program is going to be about handcuffing and addressing multiple assailants.
Wow.
So we try and keep our skills up as much as possible through that, but we also provide exercises for the rangers to practice at home or at the range on their own. Dry firing techniques or practicing without ammunition. We also we give range scenarios that people can go through. I probably go through more than most. I'm on the range, probably 3 times a month, total of, anywhere from 6 to 12 hours training. But I'm not alone in that. All the rangers try and do as much training as they can. I mean, Master Sergeant Ibarra, for example, I know does a lot of the training exercises that we've talked about as a group. But I also know that she's been, reaching out to other agencies to get as much training as she can.
Yeah, unbelievable commitment that you all have. And I wanted to talk about, I believe you mentioned to me that you get training with other organizations, perhaps the Winslow Police Department as an example.
Yes, they had invited us to not only High Country, but other Northern Arizona Rangers as well to participate in their trainings as well. They look at it as they really do appreciate our services and our assistance, so they would like to invest their time in making us better and more of a uniform team with them. And so they've gone over, their forensics, how we can help them when there is an investigation, how to go about searching for items, helping them do that. Taser certification, firearms training. Even the chief went through defensive tactics with us.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, and that's not uncommon, but you must put in so many hours a week, I would imagine, just to stay on top of all these skills.
I and a lot of the other ones in the company do. Yes, we all put in a lot of hours.
Just incredible. Well, I would like to ask you, and let's bring in the lieutenant again. Lieutenant Chesterman, do you have a memorable event that you can describe for us so we all have an idea, like you can take us to the scene and set the stage and give us an idea of what life on the job is like?
Well, the duties I really enjoy the most are what I'll loosely call festivals. This is where we're providing a very low-stress law enforcement presence, surrounded by mostly happy people, and who are glad that we're there so that they can relax and enjoy themselves and feel secure in the environment.
Good description, yes.
It sounds like you were in exactly that sort of a situation. So in Flagstaff, we have like Thunder Over Flagstaff. In Sedona, there's the Bike Festival. One of my favorites probably is in Tombstone. We provide we walk the same boards as Wyatt Earp.
Oh my goodness!
But but here in Flagstaff, Thunder Over Flagstaff is always a great duty. And this is actually a picture of us at one of the Thunder Over Flagstaff events, where people, young people, old people, everybody comes together. But we're there to make sure that it remains safe and secure. Besides being an enjoyable duty, the other benefit really is that we then relieve local law enforcement so they can continue on with their patrol, and they aren't drawn into the festival. It's kind of unfair because I think we have the much better duty. It's much more enjoyable.
Sounds like it.
And they still have to be out there dealing with bad guys. So it's probably unfair, but it works out for us.
Well, what I was going to say about the Thunder Over Flagstaff, I bet that's an event where a lot of the younger people will look up to you all and think, wow, maybe I could do this. So I would bet that's sort of a mentoring situation when you're out there.
It really is there, and really almost all of our duties, we have kids come up to us and just talk to us and say, "Are you a real ranger?" Yeah, we're real rangers, and and talk a little bit about that. And we try to be very approachable because we want to make sure that it's again safe and secure, and we provide a positive image for all of these citizens, not just the younger ones. But I will admit we have a special place in our heart for the younger ones, and we like to give out stickers. And I know, for example, I always carry a few stickers of a badge, a little tiny ranger badge. But before they are allowed to wear it, we make them take an oath that they're going to obey their parents and be good boys and girls.
Oh, good for you! I love it.
The whole thing.
Very nice. Well, you mentioned being in Sedona, and you mentioned, I believe I heard the word bicycles. And Master Sergeant Ibarra, you told me that you guys have the skill to put bikes together. You have lots of skills.
I think that comes as being parents, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Flagstaff Police Department, they get overwhelmed with so many gifts during the Christmas time.
Oh, my goodness,
and
yes.
So they can't go out and deliver all the gifts on top of serving the community. So they have called on us to go and help them deliver the gifts and then put bikes together because they get so many bicycles that need to be put together for the kids of the community.
Unbelievable. So you're like Santa's helper, too. And is this for the Toys for Tots program that happens during the holidays?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that right? So you're helping out the police department by gathering toys and delivering them. Is that right as well?
The toys are already
delivered.
We
also do shop.
Oh, yeah, Shop with the Cop.
I was going to say.
Oh, Shop with the Cop.
Yeah, we also do. Yeah, we do Shop with the Cop as well. So we provide a lot of different services of that sort.
So and Coffee with a Cop.
Coffee with a Cop.
Yeah,
so what's the age for this? Like, how do you get to shop with a cop? That's what I want to know.
Well, I think that you're quite young enough. Well, we'd be glad to take you on a shopping spree as well.
Oh, you're very smooth, Lieutenant Chesterman. Thank you. But you also have Coffee with a Cop. So is that to just to get to know, or is it to hear community issues or concerns, or how does that work?
I believe that's to let the community know that we're there for them. And plus, doing the Coffee with the Cop with the local police departments, that just shows them that we're a team. We're working together for the benefit of the community.
What good PR people you guys are. And I just love the idea that you're out there in the community and some of the events, I know you do a lot with veterans.
Yes. And we do have veterans as Arizona Rangers as well.
Oh, yeah, I would imagine.
yeah.
So I think one of the names, what's the event that's happening with veterans coming up?
Oh, that's the stand down event in Flagstaff. They just had one, I believe, in the Verde Valley area, and they're going to have one in Show Low here in August, and then one in Williams in September. But that is the Arizona Veteran Stand Down was established in 2013 with the Arizona Housing Coalition, and basically what that is for is to help the veterans that are homeless or having instability with their housing. They are providing resources for those veterans and their families. And so when you go to a stand down, you have a lot of resources for these veterans. They can get their hair cut, they can get clothes, they can get food. They even provide vet services for their dogs because a lot of them have pets.
Aww.
And so and they can help with transportation, they can help with their benefits, insurance. I mean, it's there to provide the veterans with resources, and not only resources for the day, but resources that they can take with them and be with them, continuously.
That's amazing, and I'm sure so appreciated. I wanted to mention, I thought this was interesting, in Jerome, the Arizona Rangers are called in to transport criminals. Tell us about that a little bit. I know that's not your area.
Yeah, it's that. So we had, so during the training that the Winslow Police Department put on, we had some rangers that were down in the company down in that area. The police department in Jerome are very short, just like most law enforcement agencies, and they had no one to help transport, the individuals
Sure.
to where they needed to be, and so they had asked the rangers if they would be able to do that. Well, the rangers reached out to me, who reached out to the Winslow Police Department and said, hey, can we do training? And so the Winslow Police Department said, oh, you bet, come on down and we'll train you how to do transport services. And so they ended up getting the transport services through the Winslow Police Department and have taken it back to the Jerome Police Department, and therefore they've used them in that aspect.
Now,
Another similar duty is actually school security. A number of ranger companies around the state are providing school security, so that, again, law enforcement can go about their way. So they get special training on that. In other areas of the state, there are they might actually be what's called a second man, riding with officers who are moving into remote areas as for security purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these have different training tracks, but we provide all of these types of support services.
So some of the skills, I know there are requirements, prerequisites, if you will, to being a ranger, besides being good to your parents. So can you please elaborate that on a little bit for somebody who's listening and considering this for themselves or for children or people that they know? What requirements, what boxes do they have to check to be eligible?
Well, for eligibility, the first thing is that they have to be Arizona residents and they have to have an Arizona concealed carry permit, which gives us a quick way of knowing that they've gone through a single background check. But then we do a more extensive background check to go into character and to make sure that the individuals that are coming on are really have a consistent understanding of our mission. And so we have an oral board. We also have our own academy. It's called ARDA, Arizona Rangers Training Academy. And in that training academy, we'll go into such things as the defensive use of a baton, the introduction to handcuffing, but also such skills as de-escalation, which is probably the most useful tool any law enforcement officer has. So that when we're going into a situation, we're not immediately going into it in an aggressive manner, but in a de-escalating manner. And that's, again, that's a very important skill for any ranger to have. And so in the recruiting process and in the training process, we make sure that the individuals that are coming aboard have a consistent mindset with all of that.
And I would imagine being a good team player and having positive soft skills to help you relate with people is important as well.
Yeah. And another requirement is you have to be 21 years or older.
Okay, 21 and older. And I imagine you have run the gamut of all ages. among the Arizona Rangers.
Yes.
From retirees to very young people.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I am guessing that now more than ever, your role is so very important. And I want to give you a chance if there's another memorable event you want to talk about.
I have two, if I'm able to talk about both of them.
Oh, fantastic, yes.
So one of them was we were at, I'm going to reference the Standing on the Corner event. There were a dozen of us Rangers there, and we were positioned in specific spots. And my spot just happened to be right in the middle of an area where the kids were playing football. And so I couldn't get into the game because I was on duty, and plus I was in uniform. But the kids really wanted
Interact?
yes, and
Fantastic.
so they would throw me the football, and so then I would throw them the football, and so there was this, a throw and catch kind of thing going on, and the kids loved it because most law enforcement officers that they hear about, but social media, it's not as positive, and so for them to experience a positive interaction with a law enforcement, they were really happy about that.
You must be the coolest ranger in Winslow. That is so awesome.
Well, I'm the only ranger in Winslow.
We don't have to mention that. And you had another example you wanted to tell us about.
A dark sky event. I remember because where I was positioned for that one, the cars would come up to me, and I would be the one to tell them which parking lot to go to. And the individuals in the cars were so polite, so much fun, and they had so many comments about how nice and polite all of us Rangers were at that event that they were just so easy to work with. We didn't have, as Lieutenant Chesterman had stated, they just had a lot of fun.
Well, you do so much for us. How can we support you?
Well, we do take donations.
Okay.
So
is that common at an event if somebody sees you and says, can I write you a check? Can I give you $20?
We actually had some of our events. We do have a donation box,
okay,
that individuals can actually put their donations into. And then some of them do mail us a check for our services, and also just because they would like to support our organization.
Oh, yeah, I bet they do. And what are we seeing here in this picture? It looks like there's boxes.
Yes, those are filled with shoes. And so our captain, who is the ranger to the very right, there was an organization down here in the valley that donated shoes for us to distribute down in Flagstaff. And so we had a Boys and Girls Club, and this was another home that we divided the shoes between, and we delivered them for the kids to have.
I don't know how you all do this on a part-time basis as volunteers. There's so much that you do out there, and we sure appreciate the courage it takes to do what you do, and the discipline and the training, and just being out there, making us all feel better, and making things go smoother, and making us feel safer. So, Lieutenant Chesterman, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Oh, wonderful to meet you. Thank you, sir. And Master Sergeant Donna Ibarra, thank you so much for coming up. You're normally stationed in Winslow and Flagstaff.
That's where I live, but I work with the High Country Company in Flagstaff.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Zonie Living.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
Well, it's wonderful to see this tradition of bravery and public service that began more than 100 years ago being carried out today. So if you want to find out more, here's how you reach them. You contact Master Sergeant Donna Ibarra at DYBARRA, that's D. Ibarra, at azrangers.gov. The Arizona Rangers continue to be there to volunteer, to help all of us, and to step in when law enforcement officers need their support. This is Zonie Living. I'm Bonnie Stevens.